The case that you are coming to work in a ministry where you have constantly been saying that you have intercepted, which presupposes that some staff in the ministry has been giving you these documents, or you have been encouraging it. Confidential documents. All the staff in there have signed up to an oath of secrecy and confidentiality. And you are constantly out there saying that you have intercepted. You have intercepted. Putting these officers in very difficult situations. Now that you are coming to work in this particular ministry, how would you take it? If documents are leaked and it's being encouraged by, let's say, an outsider.
Honorable Amprachum, what is your question?
I have asked it.
Honorable member, go ahead and answer the question.
No.
Devoid of the aspect of how you are intercepting the documents.
He understands.
Go ahead, answer the questions, devoid of how you intercept the documents. Because of what I've always been saying, that we have the Whistleblowers Act.
Well, thank you very much. Is probably aspiring to become the next chief interceptor. Let me, on a more serious note, assure the good people of this country that all I have done in my interceptions, in my oversight, in pursuing parliamentary due diligence has always been
honorable members, let me place on record that I don't want any disruption today. If you are not a member of the committee and you can't comport yourself, kindly walk out.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as I was saying, all the interceptions, the parliamentary oversight, the due diligence I have carried out as MP and ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee has been in the national interest. Indeed, many Ghanaians have celebrated me for saving this country's billions of dollars, not cedis, dollars. I can go through a long list of over 100 exposés which have saved this country billions of dollars. And I will have thought that my colleague will be commending me for saving this country billions of dollars. On the specific matters you raise, Oslo Chancery purchase. Again, I should be commended that I saved this country $12.2 million. Remember that you had appeared before us that you were going to purchase that chancery. You brought us the information that you were about to purchase that chancery based on the $50 million facility that the Honorable Hannah Tete secured before she left the ministry. I then decided to carry out due diligence. And in the work that I did, not being an armchair ranking member who is told that we are going to buy a chancery and then I give you approval, blank check, yeah, go ahead, go and buy it. When I did the due diligence, I discovered that the property had been purchased a few months before Ghana was going to buy it for $12.2 million, for $4 million. And I raised alarm. Indeed, the court documents that I have read, and you rightly confirmed that the Norwegian property owner took the government of Ghana to court. The defense of Ghana is that your ministry, the foreign ministry, did not authorize the official who went to commit Ghana. And that is why Ghana then won the case, and that official was chastised that she didn't have the full approval and authorization to go purchase that chancery. So what I put out was not false. It was fact. The court documents confirm it. You yourself told the judges. The Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, represented us in the Norwegian courts and said that that foreign service official did not have your authorization. The court records are there. I can produce them if the chairman wants to see them. So it's a confirmation of what I put out. And I should rather be commended because, but for me, if what you told the court is true, it means you wouldn't have known that your officials in Norway were committing you to this outrageous purchase, which will have cost Ghana money. So please commend me. I saved Ghana money. Then on access, the visa deal. I am again surprised that you say that that matter is not true. And you see, you can't have it both ways. You can't be complaining about leaks, that people are leaking documents to me from the ministry. And at the same time, you say that I'm just engaged in, putting out a figment of my imagination, I can confirm today, when I was briefed by the directors at the ministry, is that that whole transaction did not follow due process. It did not follow the Procurement Act. If it was PPA, if it was a PPP arrangement, it required parliamentary approval. All of followed. So they showed me documents confirming that the ministry has rescinded, has backed out of that they were no longer into you. But we do it not with malice, not because we don't like you. It's just love for country. As I always say, for God and country. It's a tough job. I'm not happy that so some of you will not like me and all of that. But somebody has to do it. Somebody has to step in and save the country money. And that's my only motivation. All the scandals I've put out have been confirmed. Indeed, those who even went to court seeking to take me on, they lost. Check all the court cases. Because I make sure that I always secure unimpeachable, irrefutable, and incontrovertible evidence before I put these matters out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further question?
Question. Mr. Chairman, I go back to this 38 million. It is not true that you have saved Ghana $38 million because Ghana was not going
Honorable member, it is not for you to establish, it is not for you to establish whether it is true or it is not true. If you want to go that tangent, we may not be able to. You have asked a question, the nominee has provided the answer. So how do we create the opportunity for you to say it is not true? He also say it is true. So please take his answer, whether true or not. So proceed to answer, to ask another question.
With all due respect, in that particular transaction, Ghana government was not going to pay any money. That is the point I'm making. So if Ghana government is not going to pay any money, how do you save Ghana government that money? That is the point I'm making.
Is that your question?
That is the point I was just trying to clarify.
You are not here to make a point. You can put that to him as a question, and then you can elicit the answer.
Okay. Mr. Nominee, would you agree with me that was the investigation that you did, and you said the briefing that you had from the officers at the ministry, you came to the conclusion that you did save Ghana the 38 million, and that Ghana was going to pay the 38 million. And if that was the case, can you please tell the committee how that payment was going to happen or come about? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your response, please.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. I thought that the former Honorable Deputy Minister will confirm that they have backed out of that agreement since my expose. I think that's a more fundamental point, that if you felt that nothing untoward had happened, that everything was kosher, that it was a good deal, why did you run away from it when, I did the expose? So
please, you are not entitled to ask him questions. So provide answers
yes,
to
Chairman,
the question he asks.
I appreciate the guidance. So let's be clear. The $38 million is what Access, the company, stood to benefit from that agreement, based on the percentage that will go to that company. If the current arrangement is maintained, where the embassies are allowed to carry out their visa processing, that money comes to Ghana, which is the current arrangement. That is why the head of missions were not happy about this arrangement, because Ghana was going to lose money. You were taking money out of the missions, out of IGF, for a private entity. That was the nature of the transaction. That is why I conclude, based on the conservative analysis we did, that we have saved Ghana $38 million. And I can make the agreement available, Mr. Chairman, if the committee would want to see it.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, or you are done?
There are further questions. I don't want to go there again, because I was highly involved in this particular matter that he's spoken about. Mr. Chairman, I will want to ask the nominee, honorable nominee, in the international multilateral arena. It is changing rapidly. Big alliances are reshaping in a very dynamic ways. How do you plan to champion a strong African representation in the international systems?
Well, thank you very much for this well-informed question. And I wish I had 1 hour to answer this, but I certainly don't. You are right.
Please, did you say you need 1 hour to answer the question?
I said I certainly don't have that. So
please.
So, Mr. Chairman, first of all, the changing global dynamics have to be appreciated. We are clearly now in a multipolar world. We've moved from unipolar to bipolar. Now we are in multipolar. We are seeing the growing influence of the BRICS countries. Some of our citizens are even beginning to mount pressure that perhaps we should join BRICS, just as Nigeria did a few weeks ago. And we all know that BRICS is now presenting very interesting options. They have the new development bank, which has about $100 billion available in there. A combined GDP of about 27 trillion US dollars, 40% of the world's population. So in terms of market, that is a large market share. And we all know that our biggest trading partner now is China. And China is at the center, is right in there in this BRICS arrangement. So I think that Africa should really come to this table in a united way. Imagine what we can achieve, as Osajifo said, if we unite. At the UN, for example, the African bloc is the biggest bloc. We have more votes at the UN, but unfortunately we are not united. We don't vote in a particular way. Different, considerations. And it's the same challenge even with trade. Intra-Africa trade is still hovering under 20%. We trade more with Europe and Asia than we trade amongst ourselves. A very, very sad situation. And that's why Kwame Nkrumah muted the idea of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area in Addis Ababa in 1963. It took more than 40 years for it to now be coming into fruition, albeit in a very slow pace. So my response to you will be that let us unite. And I'm glad that President Mahama has so much goodwill. Look at the number of heads of states who attended his inauguration. And already he has so many invitations. He's just returned from Tanzania, Kenya, and everybody wants to, host him and have a discussion with him. And I think that he has that potential of not only becoming the focal point, a potential AU chairman, to really galvanize Africa and get the African nations to unite so that together we can have a common position on what the African interests should be. So that would be my approach, going back to the Nkrumah template of Africa must unite. Let's present a common force. And with that, we are talking about a market of about 1.5 billion. If we unite, we will be such a force that nobody can dare mess with us. But the challenge has been disunity. And that is really my philosophical outlook on these matters.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You just mentioned the
to...
African Continental Free Trade. Yes. Mr. Nominee, until the NPP government was able to secure the use of Ghana as the base for the AFTA Secretariat, Ghana has been an active member of many multilateral platforms, but hasn't really attracted any significant secretariat comparable to the AU in Addis Ababa, or the UN office in Nairobi, or ECOWAS in Abuja. This is important because the borders are attracting jobs into their countries, or these countries are attracting jobs and opportunities into their countries. As Foreign Minister, how do you plan to leverage this position, Ghana being the Secretariat of AFTA, to attract something tangible into the country?
I mean, certainly I have gone on record in this House to commend your government for securing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. And I added, if you recall in that presentation, that it is a testimony of what we can achieve when we unite. I recall that former President Akufo-Addo reached out to former President Mahama, former President Rawlings, God bless his soul, former President Kufuor, and all of us across the divide and said, look, let's form a joint campaign team and campaign for this secretariat. And that is why we were such a formidable force and we secured it. So I'm a bit disappointed that you have tried to partisan it and you have discounted the contributions that all of these former heads of states, particularly from my side of the political divide, did. And don't forget that the reason why it was also easy for Ghana to win the secretariat is because of Ghana's consistency. Kwame Nkrumah had mooted this idea on 25th May 1963, and then in 2012, January 2012, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, a renowned Nkrumahist, revived the discussion at the 18th ordinary session of the AU. He moved the motion that we must go back to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And that is why heads of state said that, look, Ghana's consistency on this matter, you are deserving to host the secretariat. So I think that it's a collective effort, CPP, NDC, MPP, all of us, and it shouldn't be partisan. But having said that, the thrust of your question is how we can leverage this. We need to make sure that we are hosting and winning. So as we host, we are getting more jobs created. Often there are concerns when these secretariats begin to recruit that it doesn't really favor local. Often get the top jobs, and then, we are left with jobs that are not that rewarding. I intend to engage with the dynamic Secretary General, Wankele Meni, and I think that we should look at a plan on how we can really leverage on hosting, because we are spending so much money hosting. Some of the staff have also expressed concern about their working conditions and all of that. And I think that these are matters we can discuss in confidence and see how we boost employment opportunities for our people.
Because I overrule your first question, you have your last questions to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Ablakwa, I do wish you well. And I know you will succeed. My last question. The African Union seems to have a credibility problem among young Africans, in that it is perceived as weak and toothless on the international stage. For example, in matters regarding the overstay of certain African leaders in power, the countless tragic deaths of African migrants crossing Sahara and the Mediterranean, and in the vocal defense of African interest on the global stage, the organization is found wanting. The AU, unlike the EU, appears to be too timid on behalf of its people. What would you, as foreign minister, do to help change this negative perception about the AU?
Well, thank you very much, Honorable former Minister, for your kind wishes. And I must place on record former Deputy Minister, that you prophesied 8 years ago that I will be Minister of Foreign Affairs. So I was quite surprised when in your earlier submissions you sought to take me on. But, Mr. Chairman, on the more serious note, if the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was alive, his response to this, your question, will be, I told you so. Remember that when he led the Casablanca group, he wanted a more integral, united African states, a strong political force. He added that we must have a standby force, military force, we must have a bank, we must have a common currency, we must remove all trade barriers, trade tariffs, artificial borders, which are relics of the Berlin Conference when Otto von Bismarck called his friends in Europe and shared Africa amongst themselves. But unfortunately, the Monrovia group prevailed, and they said, let's have a loose union without an Africa standby force, without a bank, and all of these, political structures that the visionary Kwame Nkrumah put forward. So I think at the heart of this perception of the AU is about continental Africa unity and how we must go back to the original Nkrumah blueprint, as was espoused by the Casablanca group. And I am glad that already those talks have begun within the AU. There are massive reforms going on. Indeed, some countries have even said that they will not pay their full access contributions unless they see greater reform and see the AU become more, transparent and more, beneficial to the African people. So it's good that those discussions are continuing. President Paul Kagame is leading the reforms, and President Mahama has already struck a very good, chord with him, and I'm sure that they will continue to champion those reforms. But ultimately, you may call me an Nkrumahist, but ultimately, we must go back to Kwame Nkrumah's vision of the United States of Africa. That really is what will make the AU strong and more impactful.
I will proceed to give the floor to
my follow-up, please.
Your follow-up on this.
My question. This
very
is
well,
my
very well.
Mr. Nomini, let me take you on to social media, because you are a key player in that particular area. Social media has become a source of misinformation and disinformation, undermining the ability of leaders in West Africa to mobilize public support for its decisions and development agenda. You are one of the leading politicians who uses social media a lot to get your message and interest across. Looking at the generality of the situation and the concerns across the political divide, what are some of the initiatives that you will promote to overcome this dangerous development?
Well, thank you very much. I take the view that social media is a double-edged sword. It can be a force for good, and then if it's misused, it can be weaponized and, used as a destructive element. I think that African leaders should become conscious of the new age, new media, and we should encourage more transparency. My view is that if African leaders and African governments adopt an open governance architecture, if they are more transparent, they are more accountable, then the people will know. Knowledge is power. It will not be easy for the people to be misled. Unfortunately, in Africa, you struggle to get information. If you are not an interceptor general, then God help you, So, Mr. Chairman, I really would say that let's have more open governance. The RTI has been passed in Ghana, but in terms of its success in implementation, there is much to be desired. And then our regulatory bodies should clamp down on those who are misusing social media for disinformation, misinformation. They create fake accounts. And unfortunately, even some governments on the continent are responsible. They have these fake news factories. They pay people to just, put out fake news. Will you believe that on my way to this vetting, few days in the run-up to this vetting, there was fake news all over that I have started deleting my Facebook messages, my Facebook exposés. All over, people were sharing it. And some people believed it, that I'm indeed deleting my Facebook posts. Why will I? I'm not a coward. I'm not one to, I stand by my convictions. I'm a conviction politician. So fake news is a real problem. But I think that as for social media, it's come to stay. Let's encourage more open governance, more transparency, and we should be fine with social media.
Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to Haji Aladi Ayamba, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me take this opportunity to congratulate Honorable Ablakwa. You've worked hard, right from when I was Deputy National Women Organizer, Europa came, you worked hand in hand with Fifi Kwete and all others. You have never rested on your OS. Thanks to the Almighty Allah, we came to Parliament at the same time, and you have always soared high. I like the energy and the way you have always been able to work. And I would say, indeed, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has done exactly what is expected to him, because he has rewarded hard work for not only the party, but Ghana as a whole, and for all of us. Now, my question is, there is an acronym that has now become an international song. When even people say it, others will begin running. Someone wanted to say helter skelter and said skelter skelter. So, and the acronym is ORAL. Operation Recover or Loot. I know you wouldn't belong to any team that will be doing anything adverse. So far, my observations and what I've seen, it has been good. Because I've listened, I have watched. Now, sooner than later, ORAL as a team needs to have a way forward. What is ORAL going to do so that all the things that you have done, the time, and now that you are not even being paid, you are just doing a yeoman's job, it wouldn't go waste. We would actually benefit from it. And then, can you tell us also, apart from the way forward, can you tell us also, this particular activity that you have undertaken, how much have you saved Ghanaians from these corrupt activities that has bedeviled the country and taken so much from Ghanaian taxpayers? Thank you.
Honorable member, proceed to ask the question. But because we don't have any evidence of evaluation of how much oral has been able to save, proceed to answer the question minus that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. And let me commend my big sister for her question and thank her for her kind words. She's been one of our mothers. We all go to her for advice, and she's always generous with her counseling and guidance. Mr. Chairman, as I said in my introduction, one of the jobs that I am so proud of, and I'll remain ever so proud of, is this sacrificial job to chair oral. Operation Recover All Loot, which is a major plank in President Mahama's anti-corruption drive. The establishment of oral is such a master stroke, and President Mahama ought to be commended. I can reveal to you today that since oral was established, just by the establishment of the team and we receiving information from the general public, we have saved this country 20 bungalows which were going to be demolished. 20. And I can provide the list. Bungalows that were being occupied by staff of Research Department of the Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Gender, the CSIR. Bulldozers had moved in, but because they called the Oral Secretariat, and we then called National Security to take action, they were able to protect these bungalows. I have not added the Du Bois Center, the NDA lands, which were about to be captured. So President Mahama has saved this country a great deal with the establishment of oral, and all of us must support oral. Now we are having an international discussion. Many people forget that oral has international dimensions. I need not remind our colleagues here that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been an oral champion in the international arena. Why do I say that? He has been advocating for reparation, that our colonial masters who looted Africa, they should bring it back, return our monies, our artifacts, return the loot. So I'm so shocked that our friends who started oral even before President Mahama won the election in the international arena, when they come home, they don't want to hear about oral. This is quite remarkable. You know, and I would have thought that charity will begin at home. You want the Brits and the French and Dutch and others to return the loot tree. So let's see some ECOWAS protocols, the AU Charter, a major plank. According to the World Bank, Africa is losing about $88 billion every year. Money, if it stays in the continent, used for the development of the people's welfare, how our continent will look like. So as for oral, all of us must support it. And if you look at what has gone on in this country over the last 8 years, look, I have a tall list of monies that can be retrieved. SkyTrain, we can get our $2.5 million back. Ejapa, we can get our $12 million back. National Cathedral, we can get our $58 million back.
Honorable member, these
SML,
are projections.
Yes.
Are these projections?
Projections.
Honorable member.
Projections.
Honorable member.
No, but I think that it's important to contextualize so that You see, when we talk about oral, people discuss oral in abstract terms. This House, Mr. Chairman, and it's unfortunate that the ranking member is not here. Mr. Chairman, if you pardon me.
Honorable member, is there a document that you want to refer to?
Yes, please, and to also table the document.
You need to seek leave to refer to it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I want to first secure the document, and then I will table it with your permission. Pardon me, I have quite a number of documents here.
Please, just conclude your answer on this, then we can make progress. Honorable member.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
We have a very tall list today.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have found it. It is a report of this House. Your report, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect. A report of the ad hoc committee to investigate the procurement contract between the government of the Republic of Ghana and His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Maktoum and SL Global for the supply of Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines. Mr. Chairman, this document, submitted to Mr. Speaker, adopted by this House, August 2021, signed by the Honorable Alexander K. Afenyo-Markin, Chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee. This was their conclusion, paragraph 12.4. Quote, with your permission, Mr. Chairman. The committee urges the Minister for Finance to take steps to recover the money due to the Republic in respect of the amount of $2,850,000 United States dollars, so $2.85 million, equivalent at the time to 16,331,640 Ghana cedis, being the cost of the Sputnik V vaccines that were procured wrongly. Adopted by this House. So, Afenyo-Markin, the Honorable Afenyo-Markin, signed this report.
I was part of that committee.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Yafo. Yes, I'd even forgotten that. So,
let's make progress.
So, even as a House, we have been doing oral with the support of Honorable Afenyo-Markin, signing documents, also concerned about monies that have been looted that we cannot find. So why will you fight President Mahama when you have some of these reports that you yourselves have signed, urging retrieval from a finance minister? So as for oral, it has come to stay. The second part of a question about the future of oral. Let me place on record that our job at this point is just to collect the
Honorable
information.
member, just limit yourself to the scope of the question.
Yes, yes. She asked about the future of oral. It's important. And many Ghanaians have been asking since my appointment. Many Ghanaians have been asking. The way forward for oral. The way forward for oral is that all the information that have come from patriotic Ghanaians, we will be handing over our report soon, in the next few days, to His Excellency the President, the appointor. And then he will decide with his Attorney General on the second phase of oral, which is the execution phase, the retrieval phase.
Thank you very much.
So that is the future of oral. Thank you very much.
Question?
Thank you very much. Honorable nominee, I am a lady from a constituency and an MP that has two countries that border us. That is Burkina Faso to the north and Togo to the east. There are a lot of concerns about the unrest, let me use that word, that especially is coming up from the Burkina side. We have a lot of unapproved roads. And because of where we are coming from, you cannot tell who is who immediately. Because we look alike, basically we speak the same language. We are afraid of spillovers because of the, people will say Boko conflict, and I will say the Kusag conflict, because it entails a whole lot. Will you take it on yourself as a minister, if approved, to make sure that you work hand in hand with the two countries, although Burkina Faso has opted out from ECOWAS, but we are well aware that there is some leverage that we should work hand in hand with them. Will you work with them to ensure that we bring an end to these issues? Because those who are there and causing these problems, which can readily escalate, are also human beings and need to be listened to. Will you do that? Thank you.
I can assure you, Honorable Hajia Ladi, that that will be pursued. It is a priority of President Mahama. That's why he's appointed a special envoy to the Sahel in the person of Lieutenant Colonel Beflo Latte. And you are close to the challenge, and I'm glad about how eloquently you speak about it. I mean, those who think we should leave them to be on their own, no. I mean, when the violence escalates, we will be the immediate harboring point for refugees, for even some of these, extremists who will come in with weapons. There are small arms and sophisticated weapons that will, be brought into our jurisdiction. And don't forget, we are already having challenges in Boku. So it presents such a toxic mix. And so if we do not help to quench the fires in these neighboring countries, we are at real risk, and there will be no stability. And what we have going for us is our stability. Without peace and stability, nothing else can be achieved. It is so fundamental. And so you have our fullest assurances that my marching orders from President Mahama is to support the special envoy to make sure that we are able to pursue peace and get our three neighboring countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, back into the ECOWAS fold, and we'll remain committed to that.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have any further questions. I just wish you all the best, and I do my heart off for you. Thank you, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will recognize Alasan Umar.
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity. Minister nominee, congratulations, my brother and comrade. I haven't listened to you on your answers regarding the oral. I know how I could tell the selflessness and patriotic ideals and your initial left-centered ideology. So I want to find out how, now that you are a foreign minister or as a foreign minister, how do you intend to marry the two? Because on the resume, you are the chairperson or chairman of ORA. And you are also becoming, God's willing, the next foreign minister. How do you intend to marry the two? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. A very brilliant
question. Thank you very much, but let me place on record that you are not yet a foreign minister unless you are giving the nod. Thank you. Proceed to answer the question.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. A very brilliant question. And as I indicated earlier, Oral's mandate will continue even from this first phase of information gathering into the second phase of actual retrievals, recoveries, prosecutions, when the Attorney General decides that there is basis for that. Now, your brilliant question about how I can also continue to support the process. Within the international arena, we have mechanisms of recovering loot, which have been shipped to various, havens and destinations. If you take, for example, what happened to the Abacha loot in Nigeria, they needed international collaboration, and the World Bank was very supportive to help Nigeria recover hundreds of millions of dollars of the Abacha loot, particularly from Switzerland and other destinations. So I see my role as a role that will help. I'm not going to say that Oral is behind me. No, even though the next phase, the Attorney General will be leading the effort. But when he calls on me to bring in the international dimension, facilitate how to work with international organizations to retrieve loot in other jurisdictions, certainly I'll be more than happy, relying on the Nigerian model, how they use their international partners to retrieve the Abacha loot. I think that we can also use that to retrieve loot that is hiding in all manner of places for the development of our people. Our people need that money for roads, for schools, for hospitals, for good water, and we have to help them retrieve their money.
Thank you. Any further question? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm satisfied with the answer. My second question is, and this is due to, I don't know how to call it, is it brain drain? Our youth and Ghanaian domestic workers who ran to the Gulf have been abused severally. We see pictures, we see photographs or videos. Want to find out, do you have any plan or what do you intend to do to stop this kind of abuses?
The priority areas His Excellency President Mahama has asked me to pursue, how to make sure that we use our foreign policy to create jobs, but in creating jobs, we make sure that we have bilateral agreements and ensure that these jobs are safe, properly done. So it's not just some agencies who are exploiting, vulnerable Ghanaians because they want jobs. So be rest assured, we are not only going to be verbally condemning what has happened, but we are going to take concrete steps with a new economic diplomacy outlook that seeks to create jobs for our young people in other jurisdictions. Sign proper contracts, bring all of these people within a regulated space, and make sure that our young people benefit. That is the surest way of ending all of this exploitation and the violation of the human rights of our people.
Chairman, I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give the floor to Honorable Vincent Asafua.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me use this. My question to you, Honorable Nominee, is that, and I will try to give a certain background. On the 4th of September, 2021, you granted an interview on Newsfile, Joy FM. You stated that traveling on a private jet jeopardizes the president's security, and that we need a presidential travel policy to regulate how president of our republic travels. Now, just a few days after the president of the republic was sworn in, specifically on the 17th of January 2025, His Excellency the President, President Mahama, used a private jet to travel to Gambia. He also used the same private jet to Senegal. Now, my question to you is, will you condemn this action of the president as you have done in previous times when presidents use private jets? And if given the nod to become the Minister for Foreign Affairs, when should we expect the presidential travel policy that you proposed to the people of Ghana?
Thank you very much. The first question is, will you condemn, then when you come to office, the travel policy?
Well, thank you very much. It is important for us to put this matter in the proper context. And let us not compare, apples and, if you like, pepper. Because you just can't compare them. My campaign against the non-use of the presidential jet, which this parliament approved $37 million at the time for the purchase in 2008 under the President Kufuor regime, was largely about protecting the public purse, a cost-saving concern is what I had. That why do we have a functioning presidential jet in pristine condition, and we will be spending 20,000 euros an hour renting luxury jets? That is the matter I raised, and I have the Hansard here, the Hansard of 16 June 2021. I filed an urgent question. And Mr. Chairman, if you come to column 012 with your permission, I'm not going to read. I'm just summarizing. I know that time is of the essence. You see here from column 012, the Minister for Defense at the time, the Honorable Nitiwo, coming up with all kinds of excuses that you couldn't even shower in our presidential jet and all of that, which we found bizarre. So, put my concerns in proper context. It is about wastage, profligacy, the dissipation of scarce resources. That's the fundamental concern. Now, in the case of President Mahama, President Mahama is using his brother's private jet without paying for it. We are not being charged 20,000 euros an hour by the celebrated entrepreneur and business mogul, Ibrahim Mahama. What the presidency has explained is that in the initial days of the presidency, they asked the Ghana Air Force to present a report, conduct an assessment and present a report on whether the presidential jet was fit for purpose. The Ghana Air Force had delayed in their submission. And in the interim, his brother stepped in. We didn't pay for it. There was no financial loss to the state. I can confirm to you that since the Ghana Air Force presented its report, I remember that on the floor of this house, the former Minister for Defense told us that he can confirm that the jet is in great condition. And I found that very revealing, because when I was on this campaign in 2021, he was telling us the jet wasn't fit for purpose. But suddenly, under a different president, it's such a great jet which can be used. So we are glad that there's been a U-turn. The Honorable Nitiwo has confirmed that the jet is in good use. And I can confirm that President Mahama has since resumed the use of the Falcon 900 EXE, Ghana's presidential jet. Now, on the second aspect of your question about the travel policy, this is a matter that I feel strongly about. And if given the opportunity to sit at cabinet, I will propose that Ghana formulates a presidential travel policy. If you take the United States, for example, when the president uses Air Force One for campaigns, for private use, he is made to reimburse the American taxpayer. So every campaign, they have an independent committee that monitors. If you use the presidential jet for private business, private fundraising, for campaigns, you pay back the fuel, the cost of using it, and all of that. So, and then they also have clear guidelines on who can use those jets and how it should be maintained and all of that. We don't have that. So it is important to pursue that policy. And I can assure you that I remain committed to it, and I think that it is time for Ghana to have a presidential travel policy.
Any further question? But remember, you asked 2 in 1 question. Condemnation
Have a follow-up.
policy.
I have a follow-up.
You have a follow-up?
Yeah, I have a follow-up.
Very well.
Honorable nominee, granted that His Excellency the former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo engaged in wastage and profligacy, in your own words. On the 29th of March, 2021, while you were paying tribute to the former president of Tanzania, President John Magufuli, on the floor of Parliament, you praised him for placing a ban on what you term frivolous foreign travels by government officials. Frivolous foreign travels by government officials. And if my memory serves me right, you made a post on Facebook allegedly saying that President Magufuli was flying in economy, which turned out not to be true. But now, as a foreign affairs minister...
Please, for the record, I've never put out such a post. Never. I only paid tribute to Magufuli in Parliament. I didn't talk about economy travel. Just for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Nominee, that should be your answer. So allow him to finish asking the question.
Honorable nominee, I'm suggesting to you that you made a Facebook post. And in that Facebook post, you indicated that President Magufuli has been flying in economy, and for that matter, other African countries should also learn from him. Now, as a foreign affairs minister, obviously you would be engaged in a number of travels, specifically outside the country. And I am informed that foreign affairs ministers travel on either first class or business class. Now, if you were to make a round trip to New York in the United States of America with Emirates, you will be paying around 250,000 Ghana cedis on first class. Now, if you decide to do business class, you will be doing about 140,000 Ghana cedis. In your own words, His Excellency the President Nana Akufo-Addo engaged in wastage, profligacy. If you want to do economy, you'll be doing around 27,000 Ghana cedis. Would you decide to use economy class ticket, or you will do business class?
The first question is, did you make that Facebook post?
No, I did not. And
he's making
let
reference
me-
to
let
he's making
me-
reference to contribution on the floor and a Facebook post. And he interjected to say that the Facebook post, no. Is that not it? So now that you have the opportunity to answer the question, did you make those Facebook posts? What was your contribution on the floor?
So my contribution on the floor was to eulogize President Magufuli, and I stand by it. I think he's one of the greatest African leaders we've had, and it's a shame that he didn't live long. I mean, just like Professor Mills, he could not complete his term. And President Magufuli did a lot of things, a lot of cost-saving measures, including even reviewing how they celebrate their national days and all of that, renegotiating, their agreements in the extractive industry and all of that. Great leader, and I admire such leaders who protect the public purse genuinely, not just by rhetoric. Having said that, I would also want to place on record that when given the nod as foreign minister, I shall never, ever rent a 20,000 euros an hour luxury jet. Never, ever. I shall never, ever do that.
Please, Honorable Asafua, it is not the answer you want.
So you have my full assurances. Now, on the matter of business class economy, Honorable Chair, I am wondering why members of parliament who fly business class don't want a foreign minister to fly business class. I'm really wondering what this is about and where they are headed. But I can assure you, Honorable Chairman, that I don't care a hoot which class I travel. If we get into economic difficulties and there is a policy that ministers should travel economy, I am happy to travel economy, because even as MP, there are times that I travel economy when I can, and I don't see it as a big deal. Indeed, when I met the Venerable Dr. Obeda Samoa, he told me that for the first 7 years, in the heady days of the revolution, as foreign minister, he was flying economy. Didn't take anything away from him. So I really don't care if there's a policy that let's fly economy. And don't forget that even about cost-saving measures, sometimes it depends on the airlines. As minister, I'll be interested in cost-saving measures. So if there is a travel, it is not only the class that you travel that you can save money. Even the airlines, can KLM take you there cheaper? Can Africa World or Delta or Kenya Airways or Ethiopian Airlines take you there cheaper? Give me the options, and let's look at what is in the national interest. Then size of delegation. I can assure you that what we saw in the recent past, where more than 300 people can claim to be going for a COP27, President Mahama would not tolerate that. So even size of delegation, you cannot decide to fly economy. But if you pack 1,000 people, 1,000 officials, that you are flying economy, you haven't saved the country anything. So we should be more nuanced about these discussions. It's not as simplistic as it's being presented.
I recognize the minority leader on a follow-up question. No, it's okay. Very well, he said it's okay. So, Honorable Safua, your second question.
I would have wished that I would have another follow-up question, but it's fine. Let me ask my second question. Honorable nominee, you should be very familiar with the struggles of members of parliament, especially since the inception of the Fourth Republic. The struggles that they go through with many aspects of their work and life, especially with transportation. You and I are not Accra boys. We all came from our various regions and came to Accra. And so obviously, when you are elected as a member of parliament and you get to Accra, there are issues of transportation for members of parliament. Now, in the 8th parliament, in spite of these glaring difficulties that are faced by members of parliament.
Honorable member, your question, please.
Honorable Chairman, with the greatest of respect, just 30 seconds to lay a background. It's not offensive, respectfully. I'm doing so
You call this a 30
on behalf
seconds?
of the people of Ghana, so I beg you, respectfully. In spite of all these difficulties that colleagues go through, you vehemently oppose the grant of car loans to members of parliament. Now I have in my hand a report by the City Newsroom dated the 10th of July 2021. And that publication, the headline that I have in my hand says that government must stop facilitating MPs' car loans. Government must stop facilitating MPs' car loans. Now, did you, as a member of parliament at the time, receive a car loan? And if yes, did you purchase a vehicle with that money?
So, Honorable Asafua, I want to get the question clear. The City News, how is he attributed to the nominee before us? Because the author definitely is City News.
Especially Honorable Nominee, Honorable Chairman, I made mention of the fact that the Honorable Nominee made a statement which was captured by City News, attributed to the Honorable Nominee, which is the Honorable Ablakwa. So it is a statement that is attributed to him to have said that government must stop facilitating car loans for members of parliament.
Honorable Asafua, that particular statement, and you proceed to ask your question.
Very much so.
Ask your question.
Very much so. So my first question to you, Honorable Nominee, did you make that comment in an interview that you granted to City News? And if yes, did you receive the car loan? And did you also use that money, if indeed you received it, to purchase a car?
Well, thank you very much for that question. I'm very happy that you bring this up. And I have always maintained that we need to review the car loans arrangement for members of parliament. I am not saying that members of parliament should not be entitled to cars provided for by the state. But the model, how it is done, government going for a loan for MPs, which is then deducted from their salaries. Our colleagues in the executive, our colleagues in the judiciary, there's a car pool where you have access to those cars. And then when you are done with your term or you are being moved to another place, it is left behind for the next person. So I was advocating for a different model because this model, this approach, did not sit well with a vast majority of Ghanaians. And that is a position that I still maintain. Why do we have different regimes? Those who serve in the executive, those who serve in the judiciary, they have a different regime. Nobody is going for a loan.
Walking, he will be able to walk from.
There's a car pool where you can access vehicles for use. And then those in the legislature have a different arrangement. That is what I was opposed to. Now, the second leg of your question. Yes, I received the funds, but I didn't use it for a Land Cruiser. I used it to buy a combined harvester for the rice farmers in my constituency, and the records are there. So you can check that for yourself.
Well, I have a follow-up question.
Any further
I have a
question?
follow-up question. You were advocating against the model of granting car loans to members of parliament, in your own words. In another breath, you say that you took the funds, you took the car loan, and used it to purchase for a combined harvester. Where is the principle? Something that you advocate against? Something that you advocate against? You go ahead to take it. My question to you, did the farmers pay back that money to you?
Honorable nominee, the question overruled. Please go ahead and ask another question.
My last question to you, Honorable nominee. I have had the opportunity to listen to you a number of times, and one of them, I shared a platform with you on TV3. In that interview, you had an opportunity to make a presentation to the people of Ghana, about 30, 40 minutes presentation, where you indicated that there is a supposedly $84 billion. That is a culmination of a number of corruption scandals that, in your estimation, you think that Oral need to pursue that amount of money, $84 billion. Inclusive of that allegation is a drip component that you mentioned. I was a deputy minister for local government, and there was a contract between DACF and JA Plant Pool. Now, as part of the 84 billion, you included in that 84 billion that there is an aspect of it which is a drip component, that you have included it as part of corruption scandals. Now, the contract amount of that drip contract is about $173 million. Now, with that $173 million that you have included in the $84 billion that is supposed to be, or take that for the people of Ghana, how is that a corruption scandal, or how, in your estimation, how is that termed as corruption in your own definition?
Thank you very much. We'll take a short break for just 5 minutes whilst we remain seated.
The papa of your radio. Yes, I've seen it. The 1st of June 2024. Welcome to the show of information, education and entertainment. Your superhero radio station. Free TikTok, free Facebook, free YouTube. Baby, I love what I do. You know, understand this and I understand. Oh my God! Pim down, pim to a tower. And pim and I'm pim to a tower. And this is baby house, sorry, baby house. And then I say, I gonna this, you know. When your black stars, this,